More police, more training money.
Hey everyone, it's Amia Khan here with a Fox 10 News Now update. I'm joined by Troy Hayden. Troy, we have some breaking news. I had to bring you up on set right away. Why don't you tell our viewers what's going on?
Phoenix's police chief was just fired or relieved from his duties.
Yeah.
So whatever you want to call it at this point.
I know we're
He's no
using
longer working
relieved
here.
of duties.
Right.
That's what we're going with right now.
Okay, so to give you a little bit of backstory, you might be saying, well, what's going on?
Sure.
This, as far as I know, and we haven't dug totally into it yet,
Right.
but has nothing to do with any police shootings, police brutality, any of the issues we've been seeing all over the country. This has nothing to do with that.
Then what is it?
Well, there have been some simmering problems between Daniel Garcia and his two main police unions that he deals with. Now, not every officer, not every sergeant is in a police union, but a lot of them are. There were some changes to uniforms that the police union didn't like. There were some changes to hours and things like that. And as you can imagine, in big business and different things, the labor oftentimes fights with management.
Right.
This is basically what we have in the police department. So there's been some tension back and forth. Well, the two police unions decided to hold a vote of what they call a vote of no confidence. So basically they take their membership and they'll say, do you want to keep this chief or do you not want to keep this chief? And they did that. And they sent out ballots. Now, what we haven't seen yet, we were supposed to get the results back. Now, this is according to the chief. Again, I was at the press conference a few minutes ago, so I'm using...
You were there when he was speaking.
I was, so I'm using his information, and I have not found this out independently. But he said that they were going to have this information by the 10th of this month. So the vote, whether or not they voted or not. He's claiming they did not have the votes to do this. So as he's talking during this whole news conference today, I was sitting next to Mia Garcia, and he kept talking in the past tense. While I was here, I tried to do this, I tried to do that. And I'm sitting there thinking, what is that?
Yeah, it sounds like he already knew he was on the way out.
That's what I'm thinking. And at the time, I leaned over to Mia, and I said, and I whispered to her, because we were right in the front row, I said, I think he's going to resign right now.
You said that about, what, half an hour, an hour ago?
Right about that, yeah, just after 3. And she kind of looked at me like, yeah, what's going on here, But then he went on to say, no, he didn't say, no, I'm not resigning, but he said, I want a 2-year contract from the city. I'm basically saying there's no confidence vote. They're not showing it to us because they don't have the votes to get rid of me.
Right.
And I'm tired of these unions coming after me. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm saying to the city of Phoenix, give me a 2-year contract right now.
Right.
And show me that you're committed to me, to keep me going through, because I've done all these things. And he listed off his accomplishments. We haven't hired any officers in like 2 or 3 years. We're 600 officers down, and still crime rates are going down, and we've implemented this. So city, give me this contract. Then all of a sudden he just kind of leaves the stage.
Yeah, he doesn't take any questions at all,
No
which I thought was
questions at
really
all.
peculiar, because we were actually watching it live here on Fox 10 News Now as you were there at the press conference, and I expected to continue streaming, but he just walked off stage. Right,
walked off, left, and we're all kind of sitting there. Well, Trent Crump, who's a sergeant and a public information officer, many of you would probably recognize, he's on IR quite a bit. We were able to ask him a few different questions, but he wasn't overly transparent.
What was he saying? Because we weren't able to hear it on iron because he wasn't mic'd up, and I noticed him answering questions. So can you give us a summary of what he said earlier?
Yeah, I mean, one of the questions that was now seems like it was very smart to ask was, is the chief being fired? And Trent Crump said, well, you need to find that out for yourself. And it wasn't like, he didn't say no.
Right.
But at the time it was so weird because we had gotten no indication whatsoever from anybody on the city council or anybody else that they were even thinking of moving in this direction.
Right.
The one city council member, Sal DeCiccio, has been a very outspoken opponent of the chief and calling for him being let go. But that was it. As a matter of fact, the chief during his short news conference said that he thought Sal DeCiccio broke the law. By calling for him to leave because it's against the city charter. So he leaves, and we're all thinking, well, what's going on here? And then, like you said, here we are an hour later. Sal DeCiccio wants to put the tweet up.
Yeah, let's pull that up right here.
And this is what we saw. It says 14 minutes ago, but was it that long? I'm trying to think. Is that updated?
Oh, he actually literally just tweeted as we were on air. Did you see that tweet just pop up right then and there? Yeah.
So he's speaking to a news station about
city manager's decisive action to relieve Chief Garcia. I guess that's our competitor. Let's not worry about that.
Yeah. So here we go. Pleased to hear that the city manager is relieving Phoenix Police Chief Garcia of duty. As a matter of fact, we're talking to Sal too. So this is not our competitor's not the only one talking to him.
We got Sal.
And we're also going to be speaking, I believe, with the city manager, who is the boss of the city. You can say all you want about the city council, but at the end of the day, it's the city manager who does the hiring and the firing.
Right, and we see that he relieved. We won't use the word fire. He relieved Garcia of duty.
Right, so that's where it came out today. And I know Carrie Lake was on the phone with Sal. I think just like a minute after he tweeted this, or it may have been just right then. So yeah, there we go. Boom. A lot of people liked what the chief was doing. I know that from what I saw of him, he seemed like he had a handle on what was going on, but we're not inside. We don't see the politics of what's going on inside the police department. And I just think it's interesting how this whole thing played out. I mean, again, now, are we getting into, we're on the internet now, so I'm just kind of throwing it out. It's my opinion,
You're allowed to do that. That's what the internet's for.
I think that the chief knew exactly what was happening when he got up there today.
Sure.
Because he was speaking in the past tense.
Right, and you don't just speak in the past tense.
No, it's like he knew he was going. But he kind of went out his way by doing this today. He went out by saying, look, I want to stay here, City of Phoenix. Give me a new 2-year contract. And so it puts it totally on the city.
Right.
Saying, we're relieving you of duty. We're firing you at this point. So there you go. That's what we have. So right now we're busy. Everybody's busy here. We're looking into exactly what's going on. People are making calls. We're down with the city manager. We're going to be talking to Sal DeCiccio. And hopefully we'll have a lot more for you at 5 and 6 o'clock.
Yeah,
tonight.
no, it was pretty crazy. I know there's supposed to be a live press conference that we're waiting for, I believe, any time now.
Oh, really?
That's
Good.
what I heard.
At 4?
I heard it was supposed to be at 4. I heard that the city manager was supposed to speak and go live. I don't see that in yet, but
no,
that's what you're here to talk to me about.
Right. Well, here, but I will say, go ahead.
I mean, obviously, I'm new to Phoenix.
Unprecedented.
And the area. What has Garcia's history been like with the city?
It's very short. He's only been here since 2012.
Okay.
But he came here in a very difficult time in the police department in that, the resources have been so squeezed. The city's in a very tough financial strait right now. They've been having a lot of issues, like so many municipalities across the country are. So they haven't been able to hire. And again, I'm going by Chief Garcia. I don't cover the police beat. I was just in there today.
Right.
He's saying they haven't hired since like 2012. You know? So they're down 600 officers. So imagine, here at Fox 10, if we're down, 10 or 15 people.
It's crazy.
Right.
Even if we're down like 2 or 3, I'm like, oh no, I need help.
Right. So, but he can't just stop enforcing the laws.
Right.
And the department, and when I'm saying Chief Garcia, I'm talking about the whole department here.
Sure.
They can't just stop enforcing the law. So, it's been tough, I would imagine, over there. But as we've seen, and as he quoted again today, I don't have the stats in front of me, crime is down. And I know for a fact, because I've reported for years about the auto theft and things like that, where Phoenix used to be tops in the nation. For years and years and years, and we haven't been for a long time now. So things are going in the right direction. Is it because of what the police department does? I don't know.
Right. You said you mentioned some of Sal's tweets. Look, he makes some comments such as far as I know, the chief has never asked for more police, more training money, and he doesn't remember him ever saying anything at a budget meeting. So it looks like Sal was tweeting as the police chief was holding this live press conference that we brought everyone earlier.
Yeah, he was watching it probably along with everybody else.
Right, kind of
like
just
you were.
Tweeting and negating Garcia's points by tweeting these responses.
Well, he's got his view, and Daniel Garcia has his view, and that's the way it usually works. So now it's up to us as journalists to get, usually, you have two sides, and usually the truth is somewhere about in the middle, right? I mean, you have that. So it's our job now to get to that middle and find out exactly, where it's at, and we're working on doing that right now. The last chief, and his name is slipping me right now, but he kind of left under weird circumstances as well. He was having problems with the union. It wasn't a no confidence vote, but he had some issues, and he basically was kind of run out of the department. And so Garcia was brought in by our last city manager, Cavazos, as really kind of an agent of change. He was brought in to shake things up. There were a lot of candidates within the department that were considered to be chief, but they didn't get it, and they hired Garcia from out of town. To come in here and try to bring in some new blood and try to do some change. So now I think the interesting question is, let's look forward. Where do they go? Where does the new city manager take the leadership of the police department? Does he hire somebody inside?
Right, like who is going to hold a position in the interim?
I don't know. They've got a really set command structure over there. So you've got the chief and you've got deputy chiefs below him.
Right.
So I would imagine that there's got to be something written out where there's some senior deputy chief that automatically ascends to interim.
So he's out as of today then. It's not like here's a warning, you're out in a month.
Well, that really,
we don't know.
I'm not sure of. No, we're finding that out. I think we should learn more. Like you said, the city manager is speaking.
Right.
I think we should learn more about that when he comes out. But here's what I do know. The Chief Garcia said he was leaving town because he's got a family member who's got an illness or something, and he was going to be gone for a while. So the word we got from the police department is he got in his car and he left.
Right.
He's gone.
And that's because he had to tend to a family member, correct?
That's what he's saying.
Is that a cover-up?
Well,
or is it true? I mean,
I
that's
wouldn't
really
call it
hard because you
cover-up,
don't want to
but
say that about.
maybe it is, but I
Yeah.
mean, maybe the timing just worked out in that this was all coming down, and he thought, well, this is the time to do it, or whatever. So I bet he's leaving. If we're to believe what he says, it's a
Sure.
family member out of town, and there's no reason not to believe it. There's a family member out of town that he's going to go take care of. So, I mean, intrigue. Wow, it was a shocker. I mean, this came out of nowhere. There was a news release that was put out saying, come down to Phoenix Police Headquarters at 3 o'clock because Police Chief Daniel Garcia is going to discuss his future. And we had a discussion in here saying, well, what's that going to be? Is he
Right.
going to leave or what? And
What
we're
does
all
it
looking at
mean?
each other saying, well, he can't be leaving. I mean, I know there's been some tension, but he can't be leaving. And so there you go.
I actually want to pull up some sound bites from
Good.
from Garcia. Actually, we clipped some sound bites from the press conference that you were at earlier. So I want to share that with our viewers that are watching right now.
Right, so you'll get an idea while you
ahead
put
and-
these up. We'll get an
yeah.
idea of, you try to read into these things as we were sitting there, kind of, well, why is he talking about himself in the past tense, and what exactly does he mean by this? So now I'm kind of interested to listen to these again, with hindsight to know exactly what we're talking about and look back and see if he was trying to hide something. Here's what I will say. I was sitting like 3 or 4 feet away from the guy. He did not look happy. I mean, he was upset. He was fired up, agitated. He didn't look sad at all. He looked defiant to me, and he was not happy. We're going to get this up?
I'm looking for it. I don't.
Okay.
You know what? I think it's processing right now, so we're supposed to
is
get
it?
it any second now.
Okay.
So I'll bring that up when it actually comes through. All these digital screens I have to.
I know. I'm looking all.
There-
I'm still getting used to your new setup there.
I
It's
have-
very cool. But I mean, we should recap for anybody who's
Who
just
d-
tuning in. That's
right.
good to do. But Phoenix Police Chief Daniel Garcia apparently has been fired by the city of Phoenix or relieved of his duties, however you want to discuss it.
I've thrown
And
it up
it's-
on the screen so people
Okay.
know now.
After giving a news conference where he demanded a 2-year contract from the city. And this all goes back to some issues that he's had with the 2 main police unions that were involved in his department. And so there was a vote of no confidence where the police unions basically they went to their membership, the rank and file officers and some of the sergeants.
Real quick, is that the
Do we
city
have it?
manager?
No, that's one of our
okay,
photographers.
got it.
Bob
I was
Frederick.
like-
He's a good guy.
It's like, wait.
But actually, we've got quite a bit of time. So if we're watching this in real time, it's probably a good 5 minutes after this that the police chief stood up. So I don't know if we can fast forward this or what, but it's a little ways before that. Oh, this is
Oh,
even
no, this is live
earlier.
right now. The viewers,
Oh, this is live.
you guys
Oh,
don't
okay.
see the screens we see
Oh,
over
we're City
here.
of Phoenix here now. Got
Right.
it. That's
So
funny.
we're watching these monitors, making sure we get this video live as it comes in when the city manager takes the stand and makes the official announcement. We're just kind of watching these monitors and
I'm very interested
waiting.
to see what he's going to say. If you listen to what Sal DeCiccio, one of our city
Right.
council members, one of the most conservative members on the council, he's always kind of a budget hawk type guy. But he says that the city manager had no idea that the chief was holding this news conference.
Right.
And then he also said that he was never asking for extra officers or extra resources or things like that. I think these are things that the executive here, the city manager, is going to be discussing. I mean, I would imagine. And this is a pretty big upheaval. I mean, how many bigger positions are there in the city than the fire chief,
The police chief, the mayor.
Right. I mean,
Right.
those are the big 3, right? Wouldn't you think? City manager.
Right.
So basically one of the top positions in the city, if you believe all the reports, and we have no reason not to believe those reports, is now vacant. And so now you've got, a whole department over there of, hey, look, it's a big department. I would say 90% of the men and women who work over there are just, the most upstanding, great citizens. Every organization, Fox 10, the baker down the street, the grocery store, you're going to have, people who get some issues now and then. But, you can't paint, no matter what's happened with brutality claims or justified shooting claims or all these things, you can't paint everybody with a broad brush. So you've got all these men and women over there who literally are out there putting their rear ends on the line for all of us every day and doing what in a lot of cases is a very difficult and dangerous job. You hang out with those guys and women and you realize what they're up against. I mean, would you want to walk up to some drunk guy, obnoxious guy on the street and try to get him to calm down? And all of a sudden you end up in a fight. And all of a sudden you're laying and you're rolling in a fight.
Definitely don't want to.
And then all of a sudden everybody's like questioning how you conducted yourself in that fight when you may have thought you were fighting for your. I know it's tough, and I don't want to get into all that stuff.
Right.
Because you've got all these men and women over there who do that sort of a job, and all of a sudden the person who was leading them is gone for whatever reason. So do we have this up?
I
You
do.
wanna roll it?
Let me just
Let's go ahead and roll it.
Grab it.
Can I hear this?
Yeah, you can.
How?
Right through, you can hear everything through there, yeah.
I'm going to go grab my IP while you roll this up.
All right. Well, viewers, I'm going to play this soundbite from Chief Garcia.
Again, I decided to focus on three things: officer safety, crime reduction, and the mastery of policing. And I had a goal for our department. I still had a goal for our department, and that was to make the city of Phoenix the safest major city in America. Again,
As you just heard, Garcia, you missed it. Garcia was talking about his goals, and that one of his goals for the department when he was hired. What did he was talking? Let's just replay it. Okay,
good.
I will play it again for you in 1 second. It looks like it's about to restart now.
again, I decided to focus on three things: officer safety, crime reduction, and the mastery of policing. And I had a goal for our department.
Had a goal. Did you hear him say that?
I still had a goal for our department, and
And he
that
did-
was
and
to
he
make
corrects
the
himself.
city of Phoenix the safest major city in America.
Pull that back again, because that's
Can you
Again,
do
I
that
decided
again?
to focus on three things: officer safety, crime reduction, and the mastery of policing. And I had a goal for our department.
There he goes. Had a goal.
I still had a goal for our department, and that was to make the city of Phoenix the safest major city in America.
Yeah,
Again,
right.
I just-
We're
decided
going
to
to just
focus on
keep
three-
Oh, we are?
repeating it.
Oh, okay.
I think we're just going to keep
Reduction
replaying to
and the mastery of
emphasize
policing.
the
And
thing.
I had a goal
Well, I think
for
we're
our
good now.
department.
Okay.
You want to play it again?
I still had a goal
No,
for our
but you know that.
department, and
I think
to
that was
make
at the
the
point
city of
right there
Phoenix
where
the safest
I
major
turned to
city.
Mia and said, "Oh, he's talking in the past tense. He's
Right,
going to resign."
he's out.
You know?
That's what your prediction was.
Right, because he said I had a goal. He didn't say I have a goal, or I started out with a goal to do this, and we're going to continue to do this.
Sure.
It was I had a goal.
Right.
So, yeah, I really believe, and again, pure speculation on my part, totally unsubstantiated, as we say. We used to have put the graphic up, totally unsubstantiated. We used to always laugh about that. But no, my feeling is that that he knew what was happening.
Right.
Here. And this was some sort of a look. You can take me out if you want, but I'm going to go out my way.
Right. So, I mean, the thing is, no one even we didn't know that he was going to hold this presser. Did we? We found out way later.
Well, I came in at 1:30 today, and I heard that it was happening.
Right, and earlier this afternoon. It wasn't like a pre-planned thing, I guess.
Not for days and
Right,
days. No.
exactly.
No, and he came out, and and I left there saying, well, that was interesting. And I think my tweets, I tweeted out something like Chief Daniel Garcia goes on the offensive against the two police unions and saying that he wants a 2-year contract. And to me, that was, so I said, let me see all this stuff.
I can pull up your tweets, actually. In the meantime, I'm going to roll this other soundbite from Garcia. This is actually about when he talked about the vote of no confidence. I know you heard this firsthand, but I'm going to share this with the viewers now.
Let's talk about the vote of no confidence. On November 17th, PLEA and the Phoenix Police Sergeants and Lieutenants Association held a joint press conference.
Those are the two unions.
And they announced that they were going to do a vote of no confidence survey against the chief of police. I think their mission was very clear. They wanted to secure a vote of no confidence to terminate the chief of police. Kind of a standard operating procedure for these two police union boards. They also stated they would be releasing the vote of no confidence by December 10th, 2014. And here we are a month now into it, and they haven't released anything.
Can you pause it real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, so that to me is an interesting point, because the chief is saying, hey, these two police unions were supposed to release this vote of confidence, no confidence,
Right.
on December 10th. Mm-hmm. And what he goes on to say here in just a second, I believe, is, look, if they had the votes,
Right.
we would see the vote.
Right, you're saying that they're hiding the votes because there are no votes to be shown?
I didn't say that, but
I mean,
that's,
that's what he's implying. That's what you're interpreting.
He's saying, look, you guys don't have the votes.
Right.
And then that's when he turns the tables and says, you don't have the votes. And as a matter of fact, now I want a vote. The vote I want is from the city of Phoenix to give me a 2-year contract. And I asked Sergeant Trent Crump, again, that public information officer, I said, hey, has any police chief, to your knowledge, ever had a contract from the city? And he said, no, to his knowledge, he didn't. So maybe him even demanding, he kind of knew that he wasn't going to get that. I don't know. So let's go ahead and play it again. Play some more. No, don't overdo it. Just play it from there.
Okay.
Tell you, to date, no results have been released, and it is my understanding they're not releasing those results because they don't have the numbers to validate the vote. They don't have a vote of no confidence.
And there it is.
It is my understanding they have now extended the time to release the vote of no confidence to the end of the year. And again, because they don't have the votes. It is also my understanding that they're now calling people by phone repeatedly, pleading for them to vote because they don't have the votes. It is also my understanding that a number of ballots have been returned to the voters because the union had the wrong return address on it. Again, they don't have the votes. This vote of no absolute failure, and in a failed attempt to disrupt the management of this organization, and the union actions have hurt the department's public image with our community. They have damaged the reputation of our officers in this organization, and let me be clear that a vote of no confidence is not the measure of true police work and value and leadership. It's merely a tactic, in this case, to terminate this chief.
So you heard it. Go ahead and pause it there.
Right.
But this brings up something to me as I'm watching this, and I think maybe people at home are thinking the same thing. Mm-hmm. If you had a vote of no confidence that was a failure, why then do you make this next move to demand something from the city? You know what I'm saying? Right. So if you had a vote of no confidence that was successful, then you could say, look, okay, rank and file, you may not have confidence in me as a chief, but now I'm going to go ask the city. City leaders, do you have confidence in me as a chief? But what he's saying is the rank and file want him. He's saying that vote of no confidence failed. So why then would you take the next step in saying, okay, well, rank and file wants me here, and now I demand a 2-year contract? Does that make sense? You know what I'm saying?
Right. If they want you there, you don't need a contract to ensure that you're going to stay there, right? That's, I think, what the point.
So he's saying he won, with that whole 2-minute piece of audio we just played there, or video. But then he's saying, now I want a contract.
Sure.
Like, I want to win again. I want to win further. Like I said, I think there's a lot of stuff here that we don't know.
Right, and I mean, we're just kind of waiting for the city manager to speak and maybe give us more information. Do you think he's going to tell us a lot? I mean, what do you...
Yeah, I think at
what
this
do you
point...
think we're getting?
Yeah, well, it could go one or two ways.
Mm-hmm.
I think, again, we were talking about one of the top positions in the city. Mm-hmm. So on the one hand, you would hope they'd be very transparent in what happened here. Again, you're talking about all these police officers and all the people they serve. Phoenix is a huge city. So, everybody's got a stake in this when you think about it. So you hope they'd be transparent. Or they could go the other route, and the other route being it's a personnel matter, as we've heard so many times. There's only so many things we can discuss.
But, I mean, he's not going to walk away without taking reporter questions.
Well,
I assume
the last city manager was really good at that, David Cavazos. I yelled many questions at the back of his head as he was leaving the room.
But with something like this, I mean, there are a lot of questions to be asked.
Right. Because, what I've found over the 25 years whatever I've worked in this business is when something doesn't make sense, it's because you're missing information.
Right.
Because when you have all the information, you can lay everything out. But when you say, scratching your head, well, that's weird.
Right.
Why would the police chief say, I just won this vote, but I demand a 2-year contract? And there's a vital piece of information that we don't have. Mm-hmm. And hopefully we will have it pretty soon.
Yeah. I actually I know you mentioned your Twitter accounts. I did just pull that up to see.
Well, now it's all dated. but you can look back and see.
You can kind of see what you were live tweeting. You guys should also follow at Troy Hayden Fox 10 for updates all the time. But
Right. And, so what I had, this is the way I operate. Yeah. So I'm sitting there, and I had the tweet that I had sitting on my phone ready to be sent was, as I'm listening, was breaking, all in capital letters, Phoenix Police Chief Daniel Garcia resigns.
So that's what you expect. You went in with the tweet already ready to send it out.
No. I was sitting there with Mia,
yeah,
and I'm listening to him talking in the past tense, and I'm like, holy crud, he's going to resign.
So you wrote a tweet draft.
Oh, it was, yeah. And it was just sitting there going, he resigns. I'm just getting ready to hit
send.
It. Oh, what do you have, Carrie? Come in.
Oh, Carrie Lake,
please.
Join me.
Hi.
Carrie.
Over to Troy for a second here. So I just got off the phone with some sources down at City Hall.
Okay.
And this is something I'd heard was going on, and I just got confirmed that it did happen.
Okay.
obviously there have been issues with the chief. The unions were upset, a lot of the police officers were upset. And so Ed Zuercher, the city manager, basically sat down with the police chief and gave him a list of things that he wanted the police chief to do.
Oh, wow.
We need you to start doing this. We need you to start going to these union meetings. Don't send one of your people. We need you to appear there. We need you to start doing all of these things. And if you agree to it, you'll sign this and you'll stay on as police chief. And if you don't,
You're
then
out.
you'll be relieved of your duties. Well, apparently that never got signed, and today at 3 o'clock, the police chief, went out and held this meeting.
Conference.
News conference. Did not tell the city he was doing it. Surprised everybody,
Right.
and basically then threw the ball back in their court, saying, no, if you want to keep me, you'll give me a 2-year contract. So basically making it look like he's the one going, hey, you either give me a 2-year contract or I go, when actually the city had gone to him in advance of that and said, we need you to do all these things to kind of repair your relationship with the police and your people, or we're going to relieve you of your duties. So then how many minutes ago, as soon as we just reported it, about 20 minutes ago,
Sure.
they decided we're going to relieve him of his duties.
So he had the opportunity to stay, is what you're saying,
Right.
and he just chose not to sign this paperwork that was presented to him.
Right.
So there's something written in there
But
that he didn't agree to?
Well,
what is it?
I
What do you think
I
it is?
think we heard what his thinking is, and his thinking is, I'm the one who wants to run the force. You want the police chief running the force? This is how Garcia feels. Do you want the police chief running things around here, or do you want the unions running things? And Garcia's opinion about it was that I can't sit here and do my job with these constraints. He said, I was told I wasn't going to get new police officers until 2015. I was told, manage this large city police force with no extra money, no new hiring until 2015. And so I just talked to Sal DeCiccio, and he said he never came to us and asked for more money. He never came to us and asked for more police officers. But I said, Sal, he was told going in he wasn't going to get that. So maybe he's thinking, why would I go and ask
Why ask for something when you're already told you're not
Yeah.
going to get it?
So I think it's going to be he said, city said this, chief said this, but the basic information that I just received and just got confirmed was that the city gave him a list of things they wanted him to do, and basically said, you either do this or we're going to relieve you of your duties. You have the option. It's in your court. You decide. Do you want to do this, and this to repair your relationship with your fellow police officers, with the city, or do you want to walk? And I think it's really interesting that he then said, no, I'm gonna actually go out on my terms, and I'm going to hold this surprise 3 o'clock news conference.
And
I'm going to throw the ball back in their court and basically say, no, you want me? Here's how it's going to go.
So is this it now? Garcia's just out. There's no way to bring him back. What happened?
No, he's been relieved of his duties, so they will begin a new search. And it's interesting because we have a police department that's in a bit of a state of disrepair. We've got officers who are upset. We've got the unions who don't support the police chief. We've got this police shooting that is getting national scrutiny right now. And right now we don't have a person running the police department. So it's going to be an interesting search to see who they're going to put at the helm. Are they going to try to find somebody to put at the helm from the minority community? Are they going to try to? They obviously will do a nationwide search, but they have some really qualified people in the department as well. So it'll be interesting to see who they put in to replace Police Chief Garcia. But shocking turn of events today.
Right.
I guess you could kind of see the writing on the wall that this was happening, but to see it all play out here in a matter of just a few hours.
Right. It was not expected.
Interesting.
We didn't start the day expecting this. Let's put it that way. When did the criticism toward Garcia start?
Well, I'm trying to remember. You're putting me on the spot here.
No,
I don't
sorry.
have the exact dates.
I don't mean the
that.
exact date, but I guess could you, give me like a kind of brief history of sort of like certain moments, I guess,
I
where
remember getting
police
phone
officers
calls
were upset with him?
from police officers saying he's taking us off. We used to have partners in our car. We were patrolling the streets with partners. He's having us go solo in the cars. They didn't like that. They didn't feel it was as safe. So he started doing things, and I think, to give Garcia some credit, I think he's looking at this large force with an even larger community. He needs more police officers, and he's saying, how can I make this work? He's been given this huge job to manage this police force that will not grow no matter what the crime situation is in the city, population situation. no more police, no more money, no more police until 2015. And he's going, how can I get creative to make sure we're out on the streets? So I think you can look at some of the things he did that made the officers and the people on the streets, the officers on the streets upset,
Right.
Who are patrolling the streets of Phoenix. And you could say, well, he's coming at it from this point of view, which is I need to make do with what we have. And they're saying, wait a minute, it's our safety on the line.
Right.
And, for a lot of the stress these police officers are under when they're out solo patrolling the streets in some of these neighborhoods. And we just saw that video released yesterday of the shooting that happened earlier this week. You see the stressful situations these officers are in every day, and I feel like a lot of them thought they didn't have the support of their police chief. Whether or not that was true or not, there was the feeling out there with a lot of police officers on the streets that the chief didn't support them. And so when that starts to happen, you start to see that crumble. And I think this is a big moment for Ed Zuercher, the city manager. He's gone in, he's listening to the police unions who represent the police officers, he's listening to the city, he's listening to some of the city council members who are saying we need to do something about this. And he lays out a list of, I don't want to say demands, but basically
requests.
A list of things you need to do to keep your job as police chief.
Ultimatums, essentially, yeah.
And Garcia said, no, that's not how I'm going to go out. And I'm not going to go out with just not signing it. I'm going to go out with a very public announcement of what I've been up against while I'm on the job, and it's going to be, then I'm going to throw the ball back in your court.
Right. And he just walked off, didn't answer any questions, just went on his way.
So that's what I've got for you.
That is a great update.
And on that, I'm going to go get ready to do the newscast, which
All
is
right.
coming up at 5. We'll have a complete report. We've got Steve Kraft down at City Hall.
Right.
We have Mia Garcia on the police chief's basically firing.
Right.
Relieved of his duties today. So we've got a lot of news coverage
Lots of news
today.
coming.
And other news as well around the world. We're, of course, dealing with the terrorist threats from North Korea.
North Korea stuff. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, I was so. I mean, I was surprised. I mean, it was surprising that they pulled the movie, the interview, but it was also somewhat expected. I think once the threats were made, when they made references to like 9/11, you kind of have to take precautions.
Yeah, people are going to go, do I want to go out and see that new movie, Annie? It's playing in a theater next to the one that has the terrorist.
Right.
No, I don't think so.
Right.
But, I'm the conspiracy theorist in me also thinks that is kind of like, I wonder if there's more to the story that we're not getting. The onion has not been completely peeled.
Right.
So there could be more to it. I wonder if the government was involved a little bit in saying we need to just hold off on this for a bit.
I think so. I mean, at this point, we saw what they could do on a minimal scale, just hacking into the Sony executives' email accounts and putting it all out there. Obviously, they have their ways to get what they want. And, I mean, even if, earlier on, federal officials had said there was no viable threat, these 9/11 threats just had no basis.
Right.
But even if we don't know if there's a basis, if we haven't heard something, like, it's better to be safe than sorry.
Right.
Because we can tell people, no, the theaters are safe. Go to the movies on Christmas, and God forbid, even if one theater was attacked or anything like that would have just been really devastating.
Well, on this note, I'm going to let you go because I have to go get ready for the show. But
All
we'll
right.
see you a little bit later.
Yeah, and we'll see you on the Fox 10 News at 5. Thanks, Carrie. And for everyone watching right now, we are just awaiting the city manager. Let's look at the podium there. City manager is expected to speak any moment on the news we've been talking about for the last half hour. The firing, or rather, Police Chief Garcia being relieved of his duties just this afternoon. Big breaking news. In fact, Garcia did hold a press conference earlier today before any of this news broke to address the media and talk about, the things he's been up against and what he's accomplished during his tenure. And actually, I do have a clip that I want to pull up for you guys right now in the meantime while I wait for the city manager to speak.
Police chief would take that on. You have to have a police chief who has commitment, who has a passion for policing. And folks, when I walk out of here, I'm not walking out of here with another pension. I'm not. I'm doing this because I love policing, I love police work, and I have a passion for policing. And that goes so well with the men and women of the Phoenix Police Department because they have an incredible passion for policing. So, again, I decided to focus on 3 things: officer safety, crime reduction, and the mastery of policing. And I had a goal for our department. I still had a goal for our department, and that was to make the city of Phoenix the safest major city in America. even though we're still down officers. High visibility presence. Folks, let's talk about the things that we're hurting. I want you to understand that when I came in here in 2012, I knew these things were coming. You don't stop hiring in 2008 and expect things to just keep on rolling. I'm amazed, absolutely amazed, that we continue to reduce crime. But I want you to know where we're hurting in this organization. We are hurting in high visibility presence. And that means people seeing police officers all over this city. We're almost 600 officers down, and we police a city of 519 square miles. Investigative follow-up. Folks, I made a commitment that patrol would be my primary responsibility in making sure that the officers out there in the field always had cover officers helping them. So my focus has been to always staff patrol at its highest peak that I could afford. But investigative follow-up is hurting right now. And the last thing is training. Training. When you take on an organization that's down this many officers, if you want to continue training, that means people have to come out of the field to train. It's a hard road. I don't know where the impression came that getting from 2012 to 2015 was going to be easy, because I knew it wasn't. And some of the things we're seeing now, some of the challenges we're seeing now, is exactly what I anticipated. I re-implemented training in the Phoenix Police Department since I've been here. These are all issues that I anticipated and I prepared for. We prepared for. And the men and women of this organization delivered. Yes, when City Manager David Cavazos hired me, he hired me because he was looking for a change agent. And he was looking for a police chief that he had confidence in that could get him from 2012 to 2015. Well, folks, we're about 2 weeks away from 2015. And we're about to start hiring again. I'm proud of the fact that we're here right now. So let's talk about the vote of no confidence. On November 17th, PLE and the Phoenix Police Sergeants and Lieutenants Association held a joint press conference. And they announced that they were going to do a vote of no confidence survey against the Chief of Police. I think their mission was very clear. They wanted to secure a vote of no confidence to terminate the Chief of Police. Kind of a standard operating procedure for these two police union boards. They also stated they would be releasing the vote of no confidence by December 10th, 2014. And here we are a month now into it, and they haven't released anything. Folks, I will tell you, to date, no results have been released, and it is my understanding they're not releasing those results because they don't have the numbers to validate the vote. They don't have a vote of no confidence. It is my understanding they have now extended the time to release the vote of no confidence to the end of the year. And again, because they don't have the votes. It is also my understanding that they're now calling people by phone repeatedly, pleading for them to vote because they don't have the votes. It is also my understanding that a number of ballots have been returned to the voters because the union had the wrong return address on them. Again, they don't have the votes. This vote of no absolute failure, and in a failed attempt to disrupt the management of this organization, and the union actions have hurt the department's public image with our community. They have damaged the reputation of our officers in this organization, and let me be clear that a vote of no confidence is not the measure of true police work and value and leadership. It's merely a tactic, in this case, to terminate this chief. Let's talk about union collaboration. The unions have been telling everybody that I won't work with them. That is just absolutely not true. We've collaborated on 410 shifts that I agreed for our officers to stay on. We collaborated on rebounding and reducing from 8 precincts to 6 precincts. We collaborated on moving burglary detectives back to the precincts. We collaborated on our disciplinary policy. We collaborated on our new driving policy. So why am I here? I'm here because the union board is using a vote of no confidence to have me terminated and again disrupt the operation of this organization. I'm here because A city council member, Sal DeCiccio, requested that I be removed from office, a clear violation of the city charter and a violation of the law. And I've asked the city manager to address this issue, and I've asked him to do this by memorandum. For the past 10 years, these union boards have continuously targeted previous police chiefs for termination. As I've said before, the mission of the unions should be the well-being of the organization and not the destruction of it. I will tell you that these unions are not in touch with the officers they represent. So let's talk about contracts. PLE has a 2-year contract with the City of Phoenix. The Phoenix Police Sergeants and Lieutenants Association has a 2-year contract with the City of Phoenix. There have been contracts in place for decades with these unions. These contracts cover wages, hours, work conditions, and during my tenure, I have worked within the parameters of these agreements. But your police chief does not have a contract. I'm requesting a contract from the City of Phoenix. I'm requesting a 2-year contract by the City of Phoenix as soon as possible. And that contract will conclude on December 31st, 2016. This contract has no request for additional pay increases. I will receive the same wages, increases, and decreases my officers receive by council. And there are no pension guarantees on this contract. I think it's important to have a police chief with a contract to protect the rights of the citizens and to have high policing standards and it will give you public trust. I want to continue to represent the men and women of this organization. I'm very proud of it. We need to stop the union attacks determined to terminate services of a police chief based on rhetoric and political posturing. The chief's job and the leadership of this organization should never fall prey to the politics of the unions, the demands of public safety, our citizens, and the safety of our officers demand we do not allow this to happen. It's time to silence the critics. Folks, I don't like sports analogies, but I'm going to use one with you. When an owner of a team has issues with maybe not having support out there with his coach, what does he do? He gives him a contract. And we silence the critics. Folks, I'm asking, as I said earlier, I'm asking for a 2-year contract. It's time to silence the critics. It's time to silence the police unions and make sure they understand that they have a right to collaboration. And I'm thoroughly willing to visit with them, but they cannot run the Phoenix Police Department. The consistent and repetitive actions and demands of these 2 union boards are damaging the image and the reputation of this department, and I won't stand for it. I strongly believe that the union boards are not in touch with the officers they represent. And in conclusion, it is time to silence the union critics who are not in the fight or leading the fight against crime. This is extremely important. President Obama said that there is a simmering distrust toward our officers across the country. We need to correct this perception, including here in Phoenix, Arizona. Yesterday in the City Council meeting, the citizens of our community spoke to the mayor and council about higher policing standards. They talked about accountability. They talked about public trust. These are the same issues I've been addressing since my arrival here. One comment, a citizen requested a Citizens Oversight Board. Folks, we already have that. We actually already have that. It's called a Civil Service Appeals Board. There are all civilians on this board, and the way it works is this way. If I discipline an officer, I make a decision regarding that discipline. The officer then appeals it to the hearing officer. The hearing officer hears the information, hears the evidence, and makes a recommendation to the Civil Service Appeal Board. The Civil Service Appeal Board hears the final appeal, and they make a decision, and their decision is final. And their decision is final. I must tell you, I find their final decisions extremely disturbing. Extremely disturbing. I've seen terminated officers reinstated who were terminated for criminal offenses and use of force issues. I've seen supervisors of rank reinstated to their supervisory rank after being demoted. I've seen officer suspensions reduced to minor disciplinary action. I believe that the chief of police should have the final say on all disciplinary matters after appeals have been reviewed by the appeal boards. I'm open to their recommendations for one final review by the chief of police, but I believe I should own the final say. I have forwarded a memorandum requesting a city audit review of our civil service appeal board's actions. To date, I have never seen a yearly report, a quarterly report on their actions to anybody in the city of Phoenix. Who do they report to? These hearings are not open to the public. They should be open to the public. I think it's very ironic that the entire country is discussing officers' accountability on use of force and arrest powers. And our unions, our union boards, PLE and PPSLA, want me fired for holding officers to the highest policing standards. I lead men and women who have the power of arrest and the power to use force when making an arrest. And with this power comes great responsibility. I want you to know that the officers of this department know this and embrace and accept this responsibility. My officers want the highest policing standards. Let me repeat that. My officers, our officers in the city of Phoenix, want the highest policing standards. They want to be recognized as the best law enforcement agency in the country. And they want public trust. So I want to leave you with...
All right. You were just watching a clip from earlier when, now former police chief Garcia was addressing the media. He had held a press conference just around 3 p.m., a little over almost 2 hours ago, making this statement, addressing the media, talking about what he had accomplished and what his thoughts were on the current state of policing in Phoenix. So we were playing that clip for you. As we just heard in the last hour, Garcia has been removed as police chief. He has been relieved of his duties, and now we are just awaiting City Manager Ed Zuercher to take the stand and address the media, answer questions, and discuss this decision.
continue to reduce.
All right, for those of you just joining us, we are waiting for City Manager Ed Zuercher to take the podium and address the press on the breaking news of the day that Police Chief Garcia has been relieved of his duties. Earlier this afternoon, just about 3 o'clock, Garcia did address the press in a somewhat surprise press conference. Made no mention of this big breaking news decision, but I do want to play for you some of what he had to say earlier. I just got news that Zuercher would be taking the stand around, sometime in the next 10 minutes or so. So in the meantime, I do want to play for you some of what Garcia had to say earlier. So let me just pull that up for you guys right now.
2012, upon my arrival, I was informed that we would not hire officers until 2015. And what police chief would take that on? You have to have a police chief who has commitment and who has a passion for policing. And folks, when I walk out of here, I'm not walking out of here with another pension. I'm not. I'm doing this because I love policing, I love police work, and I have a passion for policing. And that goes so well with the men and women of the Phoenix Police Department because they have an incredible passion for policing. So, again, I decided to focus on three things: officer safety, crime reduction, and the mastery of policing. And I had a goal for our department. I still had a goal for our department.
You think so?
And that was to make the city of Phoenix the safest major city in America, even though we're still down officers. High visibility presence. Folks, let's talk about the things that we're hurting. I want you to understand that when I came in here in 2012, I knew these things were coming. You don't stop hiring in 2008 and expect things to just keep on rolling. I'm amazed, absolutely amazed, that we continue to reduce crime. But I want you to know where we're hurting in this organization. We are hurting in high visibility presence. And that means people seeing police officers all over this city. We're almost 600 officers down, and we police a city of 519 square miles. Investigative follow-up. Folks, I made a commitment that patrol would be my primary responsibility in making sure that the officers out there in the field always had cover officers helping them. So my focus has been to always staff patrol at its highest peak that I could afford. But investigative follow-up is hurting right now. And the last thing is training. Training. When you take on an organization that's down this many officers, if you want to continue training, that means people have to come out of the field to train. It's a hard road. I don't know where the impression came that getting from 2012 to 2015 was going to be easy, because I knew it wasn't. And some of the things we're seeing now, some of the challenges we're seeing now, is exactly what I anticipated. I re-implemented training in the Phoenix Police Department since I've been here. These are all issues that I anticipated and I prepared for. We prepared for. And the men and women of this organization delivered. Yes, when City Manager David Cavazos hired me, he hired me because he was looking for a change agent. And he was looking for a police chief that he had confidence in that could get him from 2012 to 2015. Well, folks, we're about 2 weeks away from 2015. And we're about to start hiring again. I'm proud of the fact that we're here right now. So let's talk about the vote of no confidence. On November 17th, PLE and the Phoenix Police Sergeants and Lieutenants Association held a joint press conference. And they announced that they were going to do a vote of no confidence survey against the Chief of Police. I think their mission was very clear. They wanted to secure a vote of no confidence to terminate the Chief of Police. Kind of a standard operating procedure for these two police union boards. They also stated they would be releasing the vote of no confidence by December 10th, 2014. And here we are a month now into it, and they haven't released anything. Folks, I would tell you, to date, no results have been released, and it is my understanding they're not releasing those results because they don't have the numbers to validate the vote. They don't have a vote of no confidence. It is my understanding they have now extended the time to release the vote of no confidence to the end of the year. And again, because they don't have the votes. It is also my understanding that they're now calling people by phone repeatedly, pleading for them to vote because they don't have the votes. It is also my understanding that a number of ballots have been returned to the voters because the union had the wrong return address on them. Again, they don't have the votes. This vote of no absolute failure, and in a failed attempt to disrupt the management of this organization, and the union actions have hurt the department's public image with our community. They have damaged the reputation of our officers in this organization. And let me be clear that a vote of no confidence is not the measure of true police work and value and leadership. It's merely a tactic, in this case, to terminate this chief. Let's talk about union collaboration. The unions have been telling everybody that I won't work with them. That is just absolutely not true. We've collaborated on 410 shifts that I agreed for our officers to stay on. We collaborated on rebounding and reducing from 8 precincts to 6 precincts. We collaborated on moving burglary detectives back to the precincts. We collaborated on our disciplinary policy. We collaborated on our new driving policy. So why am I here? I'm here because the union board is using a vote of no confidence to have me terminated and again disrupt the operation of this organization. I'm here because a city council member, Sal DeCiccio, requested that I be removed from office, a clear violation of the city charter and a violation of the law. And I've asked the city manager to address this issue, and I've asked him to do this by memorandum. For the past 10 years, these union boards have continuously targeted previous police chiefs for termination. As I've said before, the mission of the unions should be the well-being of the organization and not the destruction of it. I will tell you that these unions are not in touch with the officers they represent. So let's talk about contracts. PLE has a 2-year contract with the City of Phoenix. The Phoenix Police Sergeants and Lieutenants Association has a 2-year contract with the City of Phoenix. There have been contracts in place for decades with these unions. These contracts cover wages, hours, work conditions, and during my tenure, I have worked within the parameters of these agreements. But your police chief does not have a contract. I'm requesting a contract from the City of Phoenix. I'm requesting a 2-year contract by the City of Phoenix as soon as possible. And that contract will conclude on December 31st, 2016. This contract has no request for additional pay increases. I will receive the same wages, increases, and decreases my officers receive by council. And there are no pension guarantees on this contract. I think it's important to have a police chief with a contract to protect the rights of the citizens and to have high policing standards, and it will give you public trust. I want to continue to represent the men and women of this organization. I'm very proud of them. We need to stop the union attacks determined to terminate services of a police chief based on rhetoric and political posturing. The chief's job and the leadership of this organization should never fall prey to the politics of the unions, the demands of public safety. Our citizens and the safety of our officers demand we do not allow this to happen. It's time to silence the critics. Folks, I don't like sports analogies, but I'm going to use one with you. When an owner of a team has issues with maybe not having support out there with his coach, what does he do? He gives him a contract. And we silence the critics. Folks, I'm asking, as I said earlier, I'm asking for a 2-year contract. It's time to silence the critics. It's time to silence the police unions and make sure they understand that they have a right to collaboration. And I'm thoroughly willing to visit with them, but they cannot run the Phoenix Police Department. The consistent and repetitive actions and demands of these 2 union boards are damaging the image and the reputation of this department, and I won't stand for it. I strongly believe that the union boards are not in touch with the officers they represent. And in conclusion, it is time to silence the union critics who are not in the fight or leading the fight against crime. This is extremely important. President Obama said that there is a simmering distrust toward our officers across the country. We need to correct this perception, including here in Phoenix, Arizona. Yesterday in the City Council meeting, the citizens of our community spoke to the mayor and council about higher policing standards. They talked about accountability.
As city manager, I take the safety of the city very seriously. I also take the chain of command very seriously. And in the city of Phoenix, department heads report to the city manager. Today, the police chief disobeyed a direct order given to him by me through a supervisor, Assistant City Manager Milton Dahoney. As a result, I fired him. I asked the chief to work collaboratively and cooperatively and respectfully, and to communicate with me and my office. That is the Phoenix way. He did not do that. We cannot expect our police officers to follow orders if the chief cannot do the same and lead by example. Executive Assistant Chief Joe Yonner to immediately step in as our acting chief. He has accepted. We have a big job in front of us right now, keeping our residents safe and working to reestablish trust between the community and our police department. I gave Chief Garcia my full support, and I'm disappointed in his choices. He's a good man, but I'm disappointed in his choices. I have confidence in the men and women of the Phoenix Police Department, and I know they will continue to provide excellent services to the residents of this city. Thank you. I'm happy to take some questions.
When did you first find out about the chief's plans to have this news conference?
I was informed probably around 2 o'clock, not directly by the chief.
Did you ever at any point have any direct conversations with the chief?
I gave him an order not to have that press conference through the assistant city manager, who is his direct supervisor.
At that time when he came to your office, was he asking for that 2-year contract, or had he already asked for the 2-year contract?
He has never asked me for any contract.
Have you actually relieved him of his gun and badge?
Yes, he has cleared out his office.
Has he told you why he went off on his own and held that news conference?
No.
Can you speculate? Why do you think he did it?
I'm not going to speculate. I don't know why.
Were there plans to dismiss him prior to that news conference?
No. I had expressed confidence in him, and in fact, I had set up some processes for him to work with our labor leaders and continue. I was hopeful and confident that he would be able to do that and work cooperatively with them, had laid out those expectations, and as recently as yesterday had conversations about that.
He says he has reduced crime with fewer officers. He's done a good job. That part of his legacy is positive.
I think Chief Garcia has done a good job. I think all the men and women of our police department together have done a good job. Yes, crime is down. But let me be clear, this issue is about following orders. This is about obeying a directive from a supervisor. That's what is at hand here, and that's what led me to this decision.
And one of the things that came up in the chief's speech today was the fact that Councilman Sal DiCiccio violated the city charter and broke the law by calling for his resignation or for him to be fired. And he said he sent you a memorandum saying such. Did you receive that memorandum? What was going to be your response to, did Sal DiCiccio break the law? Can you elaborate on that?
I have not seen that memorandum, and I can't speculate or comment on something I haven't seen. When I get it, I'll review it and take whatever action is necessary under the charter. But I have not seen it, so I can't comment on it.
Charter?
I can't comment on that. I don't know.
In his press conference today, Chief Garcia said that the unions have too much power over who stays and who goes. Do you think that the unions, A, have too much power, and how much influence do they have on your decision today?
The union issue is not at issue here. The issue here is that department heads report to the city manager. There are expectations for communication. There are expectations for following directives, and that was what failed today and what led to my decision.
Were you going to take the vote of no confidence into consideration had the results actually come back and they were negative about the police chief?
I don't want to speculate on what the vote of no confidence was or wasn't going to do. I had said all along, and in fact been quoted in the media, that I would consider all information that I was given, and that would have been one piece of it. But this has nothing to do with the vote of no confidence. This is about the chain of command.
Was he on his way toward getting over this really, really rough patch he's been through?
You'd have to ask him that. He and I had
in your mind, were you still thinking about possibly firing?
No, I had every confidence that we were going to work together. We had processes in place to continue working together, to reach out to labor, to work collaboratively, the Phoenix way, and to make this relationship work. And I was fully committed to that, and it was my understanding that he was as well.
Last question. Why did you ask him not to hold that press conference today?
I'm sorry?
Why did you ask him not to hold a press conference today?
The press, well, two reasons. Number one is it's important in our system that department heads communicate with the city manager's office. We don't hold press conferences without communication between departments and the city manager's office. That communication did not happen. The second piece of it was that we also need to work together in reaching out between labor and management, and between management and the elected officials in the community. We need to do that not through press conferences, but through sitting down together and in dialogue. So it was about the appropriate forum to have conversations about these issues, and that appropriate forum was not going to be in a press conference, which is why I directed him not to do that.
Do you believe he knew he was firing himself by doing that?
I have no idea what the chief was thinking.
And at last night's city council meeting, again, Sal DiCiccio called out several of the top brass at the police department for not being at the city council meeting. Can you first explain why they were not there, since you are the city manager? Mm-hmm. Were they asked to be there? Elaborate on that for me.
At the meeting last night, that item was a last-minute addition. It was an add-on about a day in advance, and I did not ask them to attend. So I said that at the meeting last night.
You wish you had, in retrospect?
No. I mean, that hasn't really crossed my mind.
The reason I'm asking is there's so much that was said last night about the city and the police.
Well, again, let me be clear. Last night, all this other stuff has nothing to do with today. What this is about was the chain of command and following orders and being a leader who can accept an order and take that order. That broke down today, and that because of that is why I made my decision. Thank you all very much. Thanks.
Thank you. And Jonathan, there was police representation there last night. Commander Kurtenbach was there to represent. So just to be clear, it's not that there was no police representation. There was a lot of police representation there at that meeting last night.
And what was brought up last night was the top brass. And that's what I mean, when I said to Ed, the top brass, and that was where the chief, or excuse me, the CCO called out the several chiefs, and that was what I was referring to.
Yeah. Any last questions for the city?
Do you know that he would be fired if he was to hold that press conference?
I can't speak to what.
We're getting in position, Dave's moving the camera.
And in a failed attempt to disrupt the management of this organization, and the union actions have hurt the department's public image with our community. They have damaged
All right, just having a couple technical difficulties, but it looks like Steve Kraft is about to report live from the scene, and I actually just put a lower third right here. Big news, Assistant Chief Joe Yonner will be acting as chief after Police Chief Dan Garcia was fired. I actually want to pull up his image right now, so let me just find that for you. Have it right there. So this is Assistant Chief Joe Yonner. He'll be acting chief after Police Chief Daniel Garcia was relieved of his duties. All right, a crazy busy afternoon. Just to recap everything you just saw over the last hour, almost hour and a half. What we know so far, you know, Police Chief Daniel Garcia, Phoenix Police Chief, has been relieved of his duties. We just saw Phoenix City Manager Ed Zuercher talk about what exactly happened between the two. And for any more information, we'll be covering this live on Fox 10. On the news right now. We are on right now, Fox 10 News at 5 and the Fox 10 News at 6. So head on over to Fox 10 and we'll have more on this story. Thanks for watching Fox 10 News Now. As always, we break in with live updates and live news as we get the information. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Fox10Phoenix. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.